Well, glory be and mercy me, we've done it yet again. Here we are, we've on the daily walk. Today I get to have the privilege to talk once again about our everyone's favorite intellectual, Jordan Peterson, and his newly published article in the National Post, where he is talking about the reasons why he is no longer a tenured professor at the University of Toronto. This article is one of those special moments in the career of a person. I have said on this channel and before that I actually like Jordan Peterson. I think that if I were to sit down with him and have a one-on-one conversation, I think it would be a great time. I think he's a prairie boy, I'm a prairie boy. I think that we would have a pretty cordial and interesting conversation, frankly. But even I have come to the point now where I have to say outright, Peterson is an old white privileged racist. How do I know that's the truth? Because he just published an article that can only be described as an article published by an old white privileged racist. There isn't another take. There isn't another perspective. The only other perspective is to say, yeah, it's racist, but I'm fine with it, right? And that's the conversation that's going on with Peterson now. It isn't whether or not he is racist. It is whether or not you are okay with him being a racist. I am not. Straight up. I don't think I'm going to allow racism or racists into my thinking patterns and how I view the world. I don't think I'm going to allow those types of people to influence my worldview. And how do we know that what Peterson wrote is racist? So here's his argument for why he is leaving the University of Toronto, right? He had two reasons. Reason number one, they are hiring more people of color, more indigenous people, and so that means my white students will not be able to find work so easily. Reason number two, because there won't be enough people, right? There won't be enough competent people of color, the implication being that people of color are less competent than white people at these tasks. That means that the institution as a whole will degrade, right? We won't be able to find enough black people or brown people or people of color or indigenous people to fill these positions. And so the institution as a whole will degrade, while the white people who I want to see succeed will not be able to. So why bother? This is Peterson's central core argument for why he is leaving the University of Toronto. Because the University of Toronto has looked at the recent history of North America and said, we need to do more to confront the white supremacy that exists in the society, and we are going to do that by mandate. That if we let the free market decide, the free market will simply reinforce white supremacy. Because Peterson, his central ideology, his fundamentalism towards individualism, allows him to deceive himself into believing that, oh, everything is about the individual, so it's about your own meritocracy. He even ends the article with this statement that, oh, it's about your own talent. That's all we have, right? It's about your own talent and your own skill. But of course, what Peterson refuses to acknowledge is that academia is not like a sports game. It's not as clear-cut as, oh, I throw more balls into hoops than this guy, and so I'm better at this than this guy. In academia, sure, you need talent and sure, you need skill, but there are also something called judges, right? There are judges. And who are the judges? Oh, well, if the judges are old white racist men, right? What do you think these judges are going to put forward? Probably more white racist men, right? That, which, given Peterson's statements, seems to be obliquely true. And so the university is trying to do something about it, right? The university is trying to get ahead of it. The university is trying to fix this issue of inclusivity and diversity through mandate. Peterson's intellectual incredulity on this issue even gets him agreeing with Vladimir Putin. He puts a long forward quote out of Putin's, where Putin says, what I'm seeing in the universities wouldn't fly in communist Russia. And of course, if you are a man like Peterson, who doesn't know anything about communism, who is illiterate on the subject, who has the same kind of propagandized mind in regards to communism as someone that does for reefer madness in regards to the marijuana conversation, then this is evidence enough. Oh, look, Putin is saying this is worse than communist Russia. Well, communist Russia didn't have a legacy of slavery. Communist Russia didn't have a legacy of genocide. Communist Russia didn't have a legacy of residential school systems, right? In the years that Peterson was going to school to be trained where he is now, there was literally the 60s scoop was going on. We were kidnapping First Nations kids and forcing them into a school system. And Peterson is making these statements and doing these things under the shadow of Martin Luther King Day. The civil rights movement occurred within living memory. What is going on is occurring as the United States is banning critical race theory from its schools, trying to explicitly make it so that the history of American slavery and the mistreatment of the black population is simply not taught, is simply not part of the curriculum, is simply not part of the historical memory. And it's certainly not part of Peterson's historical memory. So what do we have now with the figure Jordan Peterson? We have a disgraced professor who has lost tenure at the institution that he once taught, who has now retreated into his insular circle of rabid supporters, saying explicitly that the reason why he is leaving that institution is because the institution wants to confront the systemic racism and the racist ideologies that allowed for slavery, genocide, the civil rights movement, that allowed for all of these conflicts and antagonisms within the society. And because the university wants to confront these things by mandate and doesn't want to allow a odd little ideology of meritocracy that doesn't really exist and isn't real to prevail instead, that is bad. This is his argument. More black people, more brown people, more indigenous people are coming in to the university by mandate, and that means less opportunity for white people, even though that's debatable. And so I'm gonna leave. It's explicitly racist on the face of it. You don't need to interpret it too much. You don't need to even form an argument. Why? Because Peterson's done the arguing for you. He got enough rope, and we just watched him hang himself. All right, guys. This is the end of this video. If you've made it to this point, please like, please share, please subscribe. If you don't share it, YouTube suppresses leftist voices, right? YouTube loves Jordan Peterson. YouTube sends me Jordan Peterson all the time, right? An old, racist, white, privileged man. So they're not gonna spread someone like me around, right? So if you don't share it, no one sees it. Got a Patreon down below. Again, support leftist voices. Always remember, guys, you are a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending billions of dollars to make sure that you don't realize it. Don't let them. Rebel, revolt, repent. Good luck. We're gonna need it.